What a run. VGK fulfills owner Bill Foley's promise of winning the Cup in year 6. The Golden Knights are Stanley Cup champions for the first time in team history.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from Las Vegas, where the Stanley Cup now has at least a year's residency. And thanks for joining us and making us your first listen each and every day. Make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Locked On Golden Knights. You can find us on Twitter. It's so entertaining there, at Tony Dasco, at TD Chris G, and especially at Locked On VGK. We are brought to you today by Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs make you look good. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL and enter the code LockedOnNHL for a free Yeti-style tumbler with your order.
We should set some over-unders, Tony, for like residencies, Stanley Cup or band XYZ. Who's going to last longer? I don't know about nothing off the top of my head now, but we can have some fun with
It's a minimum of 1 year.
It could be longer. It could be longer. It could be longer.
Right. We know like Adele just keeps extending things here. So, yeah, that definitely could happen. About last night, the team's still out probably partying. They went to Omnia here after they won the game and the celebration and all of that. Not only did VGK win, Chris, Game 5 of the Cup final in convincing fashion, 9-3, but in doing so, they clinch the Stanley Cup, and they clinched the series in just 5 games. You had it correct with the wins and the loss and all of that. And it caps off an unbelievable, a remarkable season, really, if you think about it, and sets off a celebration here in Vegas for the ages. And, you know, just one of the biggest keys in last night's game, Florida playing without its star, Matthew Tkachuk. I don't think that it mattered. But they said, according to late reports, we heard a number of things, but they said officially it was a broken sternum. And so it might not have mattered, though. But Captain Mark Stone, he scored the hat trick in the game. And VGK Stanley Cup champions. Why? Depth, defense, goaltending, a different player stepping up each and every night. And what a celebration afterwards. Congratulations. We have to make sure that we congratulate everyone from the organization to the players to the fans. Just terrific. And again, a celebration for the ages.
Mark Stone did something a little different pregame. Me and Chris were like right in the corner, but we can see the benches pretty well, but we were right on the glass for warmups. Figured we had to get down for this one. It just felt a little bit different, obviously, before the game. But Mark Stone went down the entire VGK bench before he left the ice, high-fived everybody from the VGK press team that's on the bench, from the coaches to the equipment managers to every single person that was on the bench. He went down and probably gave 10 or 12 high fives. And when I watched him do that, I'm like, okay, this is a different Mark Stone. And you felt like he was going to factor in this game, and he did. I mean, Mark Stone was not going to allow VGK to lose this game. And Tony, you asked a great question. I believe it was in yesterday's show. Who is ready for this moment? Who is ready to, take the bull by the horns? Who is ready to step up? And the best thing about it is there was not one clear-cut answer. If you ask me who on Florida's built for this moment, we're going to start with Matt Tkachuk, obviously, and then we're going to pause and we're going to think about who else can really step up. But we started with Stone. We started with Jack Eichel. We started with Marchessault. I even mentioned someone like Barbashev could do it. William Karlsson. I was high on Shea Theodore. Like, you can mention 7 players on this roster that were fit to take over a game like this, which is a testament to the depth. It's a testament to the front office. It's just a testament of a culmination, if you will, of all the different events that had to take place to get to the team to this point. And, I definitely was a little bitter. Not bittersweet's not the word. With my appreciation for Kelly McCrimmon, getting to watch him lift the Stanley Cup and all of that. And like, the crowd didn't even cheer that much. When Bill Foley got the cup, the place went bonkers. And then it was McCrimmon right after that. And it wasn't as like people were, I don't know if people were getting tired by that point,
They were
but
tired. They were
they
gassed out.
were,
Yeah,
but
it was a long night, and the
it was
game
a
was
long night.
secured pretty early. And Mark Stone, the one thing that
Yes.
I noticed, guess what? No back issues, because he was able to not only hoist the cup, but he did it a number of times. And so the back is healed. Okay. So he'll be back again next season. For me, VGK, one of the keys going into the playoffs, I said, this team, they didn't have to, but I said they need to average 4 goals per game. And this
And
year
that
they
average
made it.
shifted a little bit last night.
No, but it turned out to be 4. It turned out to be 4
Yeah.
goals, actually, 4 VGK across the board. And if they made it into June, we knew that they would have to score goals, and there was no June swoon. This team scored goals, and they did it repeatedly. And again, a different player each and every night. And this season actually began, in retrospect, last summer because everything was sort of backed up, and they didn't make the playoffs, and they had a chip on their shoulder. They had a full, complete summer for baby making and for working out and making sure that they got back in order and back on track. And then, of course, the additions late in the season at the trade deadline, and each and every piece seemed to fit for VGK.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point that the season 6, if you will, started last April or so. That's really when things were cemented that Vegas was not going to be in the playoffs, obviously. And you felt it, right? You felt it in the offseason. You felt it in the interviews. You felt it in the exit interviews from the Golden Knights last season that, like it's just crazy that a team this young is all of a sudden coming into season 6 with this chip on their shoulder. Like, hey, they're pretty pissed off right now. And we have something to prove. Like, what does this team have to prove to anyone with what happened in the first 5 seasons? Well, apparently they do have something pretty big to prove, and it's in the form of a Stanley Cup victory. And you have to the place exploded when Jack Eichel got to lift that cup last night. That was pretty remarkable. And it's remarkable to think that Jack Eichel is a Stanley Cup champ before Connor McDavid. Not a knock on McDavid, just simply acknowledging the strength of that draft. You have to wonder, how the Buffalo fans do feel about this. And I got that funny picture walking through MGM back to the car of a lone fan wearing a Sabres shirt, gambling away on the Wheel of Fortune machine. Didn't get his head. Didn't want to keep that private, obviously. But I never got to look at the back of the shirt, though. And I wonder if he was there to support Eichel. I wonder if it was just so, I mean, so many emotions last night. And 9-3, like it's just 9-3. I cannot put that into word. I cannot justify what watching a game like that is like when the team is going to win the cup. I mean, it was 2-1 for a little bit. Florida, give them credit for giving whatever they had. I mean, they had energy for the first 5 or 6 minutes of each period, and then obviously it just kind of went away from there. But the players that were on the ice, give them credit. They did give a very good effort. You just knew they had nothing left after the first 5 minutes. They gave everything they had, and you could just tell. And Aiden Hill, again, all these amazing saves. I mean, he's had 2 or 3 statue-worthy saves if you're going to compare it to the Marc-Andre Fleury statue right now.
Boy, we are going to have so much to talk about in the off season, and one of those topics obviously will focus on the goaltending and Aiden Hill, and he will not take the stinking hometown discount. Get over that, because he's not going to, because there's going to be so much money out there for him.
His father did an interview not too long ago talking about that, and he did mention Aiden Hill's loyalty. He was offered an extension mid-season or early in the season. He did pass it just so he can focus on playing hockey, bet on himself a little bit. So I think he will expect a payday, but I do think he would consider a slight. I say slights. He's not going to come back for 2.175 or whatever he makes now. Let's be clear about that. I think he could get 4 or 5 on the open market. If VGK comes in at 3.5, he might sit and think about it.
VGK defensively just really clamped down in this series. They had 123 blocked shots in the series, which is pretty amazing when you just look at that stat. Second period scoring and explosiveness. Second period outscoring opponents in the playoffs 34-11. 11 times this team
that's crazy.
Scored 3 goals or more in a period. I mean, this is a much different team, and this was a team that was on a mission, as we mentioned, late in the season. I think I said on the show, I'm starting to feel like this team could win it all because all those pieces started to come together, right? And every night it was just someone else. I did get quoted as a team of destiny, and the Vegas Golden Knights were winning games in every which way.
Yeah, that goes back to I think one of my first statements about the depth on this team. It's someone else. There was 5 different scores the one night when they scored 5 goals. I think it was game 2, if I'm not mistaken. I think there was 19 or 20 different goal scorers. I mean, we can go on and on about the depth of this team, and that still goes back to Kelly McCrimmon, hashtag McCrimmo plan. I was beating that drum, folks, for the longest time. One of our most viewed episodes was, I think you and I argued about Kelly McCrimmon. I have to go dig that up. That was one of our early episodes that got a lot of momentum prior to obviously all the playoffs and everything. And, it's so many things came together here. And Bill Foley, I mean, what did Bettman say? Like his vision, his creativity, and the fact that Foley
And
is
his schedule making, obviously,
oh,
from
you
the past
stop it,
season.
Tony. You stop it.
That was pretty bad. That was blatantly bad.
One question, and hopefully this doesn't get ripped from me, but a question I would love to ask if I do get around, and I will do
It's
my
getting
best.
ripped. It'll get
That's
ripped.
fine, whatever. But I will do my best to be around for locker cleanout day and stuff. I don't know if that's happening today or tomorrow. I'll wait. I'll keep an eye on my email, see if I can sneak in for one of those. But I want to know what Bill Foley's involvement was. So one of our episodes we did talk about last season, Tony, was Bill Foley made the statement he wants to have a greater voice in some of the decisions as far as the roster composition goes. I'm really curious to see what he was a greater voice. Let's be clear about this. It's his team. If he says he's going to be a voice, I'm really clear what the perception of that would be from someone like McCrimmon, and curious like what Cassidy would have to say about Foley's involvement and everything. And, what how Cassidy feels when he walks into the, whatever their employee dining area is and sees William Karlsson throwing back a BLT with Foley sitting across from him.
Well, they were hugging last night in the team picture. I don't know if you caught that.
I saw your tweet. I saw your tweet.
Karlsson and Foley. VGK holding Florida to 0 for 13 on the power play against special teams were really important in that series.
Biggest concern
and
coming in.
Stone scored the shorthanded goal. There were a couple of amazing shifts that put this game away. The first one culminated in a stinking stupid line change, and Martinez scored a goal. And then you had Vegas Bjorn Karlsson between the legs, the pass. When he had the between the legs pass and no one checked him in front of the net, I was like, this team is just done. And then Riley Smith with the goal. That was really cool to see that Smith got on the scoreboard with the goal in the Stanley Cup final clincher.
First person to get the cup after Mark Stone as well. Riley Smith, it's wonderful to see because Riley Smith has stepped up as and we're not going to rank the players based on what they do in the community. That's not fair. But Riley Smith is the spokesperson when it comes to that. He is the face of the franchise with respect to getting involved with charity and giving back to the community. All the players do, a lot of players do, but Riley Smith is the one. And that was proven last season when his contract was still up in the air, right? And the softball game still gets announced. He's committed to doing this, whether he's a Golden Knight or elsewhere. And it was really special to see him have a role in that game. And back to the Florida Panthers, you made the comment they were just done at that point when Karlsson's making that pass. Even on the Mark Stone goal, if you go back and watch how many passengers are in that play when Mark Stone has that type of time. Now, Florida probably had 4 forwards out there, so their mindset is not to go back and play defense. I think an important point to make was when I worked media day, when I was talking to the players, the Vegas Golden Knights had a much different mentality. They were fun and laid back, yes, but there was a business approach to just all the interactions with the Golden Knights. Like I said, they were fun. They gave some great sound bites, but it was also business. The Florida Panthers, like when I asked Matt Tkachuk about, hey, have you found any of the exits to T-Mobile? Or if you can get a walk-off goal in overtime. And his eyes, like the smile he got, it was just like a kid like being told, hey, you can have you're going to go to Disney. We're going to Disney tomorrow. We're going to surprise you.
Okay, this team was 0-8. They've never won at T-Mobile.
I know that's the thing. Like, Florida just seemed content with having an opportunity to compete, where the Golden Knights were not going to be content with anything but keeping the Stanley Cup in Vegas.
And shame on Paul Maurice for leaving Sergei Bobrovsky out there all night.
Oh no, I'll bet that was
just awful.
I'll bet that was Bobrovsky's choice.
That was
I will be willing
horrible.
to bet, Tony. I'm sorry to cut you off, but
I
am willing to bet that.
I don't care. Yank him. It was embarrassing. He was just done. His team in front of him was done. Yeah. Everything was done. Just, it was just, I thought it was pitiful.
I didn't catch any of Paul Maurice's sound bites. I do want to go back and watch because I am curious on some of his takes now that I want to hear him with his guard being down, not in competition mode, but what he really feels. I will be willing to bet you that between the second and third, Maurice went to Bobrovsky and said, hey, what do you want to do, man? And I'll bet you Bobrovsky said, that's my net. This is my team. And I'll bet it was a leadership thing, a pride thing. I'll bet you that was Bobrovsky's choice. I feel pretty strongly about that.
Coming up next, Jonathan Marchessault wins the Conn Smythe Award, but at least 3 players could have won it. We'll talk about that when we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Bird Dogs makes you look really good. Bird Dogs stretch khaki pants and shorts, especially the shorts, are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and through the leg to give you that sculpted sort of look. And Bird Dogs shorts do the same exact thing as Lululemon, and they fit much better, however. They fit way better than the regular shorts that are made that are kind of stiff and that kind of restrict you, to be quite honest. And Bird Dogs fixed this issue by inventing something called the cloud knit fabric, and it looks really good, especially in the khaki, and it stretches so that you have this much slimmer fit and makes you really look good without sacrificing any of your movement. And thanks so much to Bird Dogs for sending us those care packages. Bird Dogs also uses the anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL, enter the promo code LockedOnNHL for a free Yeti style. Right there, man. We got it still. Whoa. That's my cup that I'm hoisting this morning. It is the Yeti style tumbler that you get with your order if you use the code LockedOnNHL with your order. Again, that's birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL for a free Yeti style tumbler. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick. We come to you from Las Vegas, home of the Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights. And as of this press time, Chris, we still don't have a parade date. Come on, how could you not have this all set up here in advance? We're guessing it's Friday. There were some reports from folks that I know that said that it would probably start at the Mirage and then head south to T-Mobile Arena, but nothing is confirmed as of now. Jonathan Marchessault, the former Florida Panther, named the Conn Smythe Award winner as MVP. What's the over-under of number of new babies by next March for VGK? Because everyone had a kid to put in that cup. I mean, I was like, the cup was runneth over with children, with babies, basically.
So it's funny. Me and Chris, we did make our way down to the glass. I posted just a couple of pictures and just went down there hoping, to get lucky. Maybe they bring the cup by us or something like that. And then I looked at Chris a few minutes after we're down there. I said, maybe we should go on the other side because that's where the players are coming in and out. And then all of a sudden, like 2-3 minutes goes by and there's a Stanley Cup right in front of us. And that we were getting all the family photo ops. We're probably in a bunch of family photo ops, to be completely honest with you. It was that close to us, which was pretty friggin' remarkable to see. One of the cutest moments was baby Beckham, William Karlsson's kid, inside the cup. I do got a great picture of that. And just one by one, the families were getting in there. Will Carrier's family, Barbashev, I mentioned Will Karlsson, Ben Hutton. The list goes on and on and on. We stayed there for probably a good half hour and just kind of soaked those moments in. And I mean, if we're gonna put some over-unders out there, Tony, what about
4.5, 4 and a hook?
Well, I was gonna go with a date of around like March the 10th next year, about 9 months from now.
And how many? What's the total
2.5.
Over under
2.5.
3.5. Oh, 2.5.
Okay. 2.5. But
we saw what happened when they had all
over.
that free time. They had all that free time.
The over is mine. I need some money on the over. I need 140 though. I'm not going minus 110.
So Marchessault, the Conn Smythe Award winner, off the rails here, the MVP of the playoffs. He did score 3 power play goals. He had that kind of sluggish start. He in the past 13 games, he had 15 goals, and again, just 13 goals in 15 games, I should say. And he was just like the major contributor for this team. 24 points, a plus 16 rating. And down the stretch, I thought maybe Aiden Hill had made, a little run there. 11-4, 2.17 goals against, 932 save percentage. Could have made a case for him. And Jack Eichel, just his numbers weren't spectacular. He finished second, however, 23 points, 1 point behind Marchessault, 6 goals, 17 assists, a plus 12. But in the championship game, he was absolutely everywhere, and they made a note of that repeatedly on the television broadcast.
So here we go. The trade scenario was to give us some flexibility under the salary cap and to give us some flexibility long-term, said General Manager Dale Talon, Florida Panthers, during a conference call with the media. The decision to leave Marchessault exposed and let Smith go for a low return drew mostly negative reactions from Panthers fans on social media. We don't need to go on, but that article was in, let's see here. What was this from? I can't even find what it was from. Brett Markowitz, I'm assuming a Florida journalist, wrote that right there. But just to think about the impacts that Marchessault had on not only this series, but of course the entire playoffs and the Golden Knights since their inception is remarkable. And the fact that we were given, I forget which way it went. If we selected Smith and they gave us Marchessault, I believe or the other way around.
It was vice versa, yeah.
Either way, point being is, and they were
left
protecting
Marchessault unprotected, and he was really upset about it at the time, and he still has that chip on his shoulder.
Who was the player, if I can find it, if I can't find it really quickly here, but there was a player that the Florida Panthers were trying to protect from losing, who's not even
future considerations.
Future considerations needs to get their name on the Stanley Cup, by the way. But the player they protected, I believe, is not even an NHL player anymore. So, and that's not a knock on Florida. They made their decision, and again, that's a credit to McPhee and more or less McCrimmon, who at the time was the architect of this roster, even though he wasn't the GM, for mining these players, for finding ways to make deals to get more from these teams. And it was just remarkable. Going down the points list here, Eichel, 26 is what I got on my side. Only 6 goals, but 20 assists. And then Marchessault, 25 points. We go down.
I got some bogus numbers here.
I think you got the ones before the game. But point being is just Jack Eichel's effect on this. I mean, yeah, he didn't get any goals down the stretch. He had some great chances, and he set up that wild sequence of emotions with that little backhand. I mean, what a smart play that was, where he saw Bobrovsky down. He just chips it up, and like there was conversations if the whistle had blown early on that goal and all that. And I couldn't really tell on my side. But point being, it doesn't matter. There's a rule that actually that can protect the team even if the ref blows the play in a millisecond if the puck were to go in afterwards. If a scoring chance is imminent, the puck basically can't be killed by the whistle, is how the terminology goes. Similar to where if a goalie even loses their helmet for a brief second, the play can still be allowed to continue if the scoring chance is imminent and the goalie's not in danger. So we can save that for another episode. But, back to Marchessault, I mean, he earned every bit of that Conn Smythe trophy. It got a little bit, maybe a little recency bias with what Mark Stone did in that game. I thought there was a chance Mark Stone was going to steal it. And I say steal it cold-heartedly. There was a sequence where Mark Stone could have had the hat trick where he had a breakaway, I think, in the second period. Yeah. And I think he just missed the net. And then Aiden Hill makes the save of the game. So at that moment, I felt Aiden Hill had stolen the Conn Smythe from
Same here.
There's a great
until he gave up those 2 late goals.
Yeah, whatever. It's fine. He was he was planning people to thank. But one more quick thing. There's a great video where Marchessault is in the back of house, so to speak. And he's like, hey, where do I put this? and he's got the Conn Smythe in his hand, and there's all these different people around him. Like no one's saying anything. They're just getting the moment on video. He's like, okay, no, really, where do I put this? And you can see he's getting a little upset. He's like, guys, really, no one's going to help me. And he just like walks away with the Conn Smythe in his hand. It was a funny moment, but I mean, it was, Marchessault has done so much for this team. He is a very deserving candidate. No one would have been mad if it went to Aiden Hill, Mark Stone, or even Jack Eichel.
Yeah, for sure. And so is he going to go down as Marchessault Madness or, hey, Marchie, what's for breakfast?
I started this one, and now they've changed it to what, Connie Marchessault, I think they've been calling him. I liked Marchessault. I liked Marchessault. That was the one I
think you threw that
started
out there
about
early,
halfway
right?
through. I threw it out there pretty early, and
Yeah, that was good.
So I mean,
And they,
good.
it was funny because they mic'd up Marchessault last night.
Oh wow, okay.
And after Smith scored the goal, he came over. He goes, "Oh, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy," which I thought was a really cool moment. And then with Aiden Hill was stopping everything in sight. He goes, like, "You're doing it right. You're good."
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, this team is fun. Like they get the right guys in place and they protect the locker room. We've had our conversations about Max Pacioretty. I don't think he fit in on a personal level with the team. It's not a knock on Pacioretty. Pacioretty is a business first.
There's
right.
no way.
And then we're not knocking
He wasn't a fit
Pacioretty.
from day one. You could just see him like he wasn't a part of shenanigans or fun or anything different. He was just too uptight, I think, might be.
Yeah, and again, it's not a knock on him. He's just a business first. That's how he goes about his profession, and that's fine. Robin Lehner, we can, that's going to be a conversation that's going to have to be had pretty soon here. Very, very soon. We're going to start getting some Robin Lehner news. And
you could tell that he was a distraction just by the way that this team came together. He was an absolute distraction.
It's fair, Tony. It's fair. It's 100% fair. And, it's a sensitive situation because obviously there's some things happening there. And now we're learning a lot more about the other things that are happening on top of the health, and that's as far as I want to go. But we wish Robin the best, and if he is able to rejoin and help make this make a run in season 7, great, more power to him. But we'll see what that brings to the locker room and how that whole story plays out potentially. But this locker room is tight. They're friends first. Most of these guys don't even leave to go. Like, this is home for these players now. Like when I was growing up a Blackhawk fan, I'm still a Blackhawk fan, but they're my second love now, distant second love, of course. But come the off season, they're gone. They're back in Canada. They're back, wherever their homes are, where most of the players, especially now, obviously, that they can walk into any business and automatically be the toast of the hour.
Okay, because I am TMZ, the Bruce Cassidy starts 5 of the 6 original
That was awesome.
Misfits.
Awesome.
William Carrier was the odd man out. However, because there's got to be controversy around Cardasco, George McPhee afterwards said that he didn't like it. He thought that it was a bit of a gimmick. And talk about a killjoy. He said VGK has never done that sort of a thing. He said that he understood why Bruce would do that, but just roll the 4 lines because that's how we win. I thought that, it got the fans fired up when they show up with the original Misfits on the ice. The crowd went bonkers, and what a killjoy, George McPhee. But when we return, because
business first.
Coming up next, a look at, I always have to have the controversial take, right?
There you go, Tony.
Coming up next, a look at the front office for VGK and how they and the coaching staff fulfilled Bill Foley's dream. More after this on Locked On Golden Knights. Make your way to FanDuel because right now new customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500, $2,500. That's right, back in bonus bets if your first bet does not win. Great promotions every day, safe and secure application, and you get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet anything in sports and all the action than America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel. And if you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500, again, go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and you could get that no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the National Basketball Association. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights from Las Vegas. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick. Hey, make sure that you check out our WTF, What the Friday. My first take, I know, will be, when is the stinking parade in this city and where is it going to be? All sorts of fired up. And make sure, of course, fans, that you go to our YouTube channel, Locked On Golden Knights, and subscribe there. Want to talk about the front office here. I know we went a little bit over in our first couple of segments. Bill Foley promised Las Vegas a cup in 6. Front office, McPhee and Kelly McCrimmon. It's time for them, I guess, to get their flowers. They did construct a very good team here. Bill said, as you mentioned, he'd be more involved with the hockey decisions over the course. I had that in my notes as well. I thought that could have been a difference. McPhee and McCrimmon, I felt, again, they could have been on thin ice if this team did not produce coming off of a season in which the Golden Knights failed to make the playoffs. But again, along the way here, as you go through the timeline, the key acquisitions along the way, the Marchessault deal, Alex Pietrangelo, and of course, Jack Eichel, who absolutely blossomed this season. And so let's talk about those 3 players first, and then we'll talk about Bruce Cassidy, who I absolutely think was the missing piece for this organization.
So quickly, you look at the core of this team.
Man,
you
and
did.
Just
you
glossed
said it
over
right.
it.
There you go. I know. We're short on time. So going back to the question that I asked McCrimmon, that guy.
McCrimmon?
The question that I asked Kelly McCrimmon during the Stanley Cup Media Day was, what was it that brought them to Jack Eichel outside of his talents? And then I kind of queued up the question with pedigree, leadership, blah, blah, blah. And he made the comment, they're just looking for good hockey people. That summarized a very, long 4-minute answer that he gave me, but they're looking for good hockey people. And you look at the people that they have signed, they're targeting leaders. They're targeting former Stanley Cup winners. They're targeting captains. They are targeting good people who are good in the locker room. They want a good, level of character, if that's the proper way to say that. I asked George McPhee before I was even involved with media. This was season 2 at the first Night to Remember gala that I was invited to. A little brag there. We were just having a brief conversation with George McPhee. I said, listen, I run poker rooms in Las Vegas. Can I ask you for one piece of career advice that'll help me run my business better? And he said culture. He immediately went to culture and said, it doesn't matter if you're running a professional sports franchise or, a mini marts. It doesn't matter if you instill the proper culture.
Wait. He didn't say it's a bit of a gimmick.
He didn't say it was a bit of a gimmick.
That was last night.
That was last night. So he went on to talk a lot about culture, putting the right people in place, taking care of them. And I thought that was a magnificent answer, and it's on display. Going to the front office, here's our RFAs and UFAs right now. Dorofeev, Howden, Barbashev, Bluger, Phil Kessel, Braden Bahal. And then goalies, we'll figure that out later. But Brossoit, Hill, and Jonathan Quick are the UFAs and RFAs right now. Point being is the core of this team is together, and health pending, and obviously a lot of other factors. You got to get lucky to win a cup. You got to be fair about that. You got to get lucky to win a cup. But the core of this team is coming back, and they will be a Stanley Cup contender next season.
1 year ago today, Bruce Cassidy was hired by VGK. I thought he made a world of difference with this team. And I tweeted out last night that I couldn't believe that I put physical team and Vegas Golden Knights in the same sentence, because this team just toughened up. And I just felt as though maybe he was getting under the skin of a lot of players, because he's just relentless. He absolutely is. And Mark Stone, I think, summarized things best last night when he said that Cassidy brought intensity. This was post-game on TNT, and he wanted to win the cup as much as us.
I go back to when things weren't going well in the pressers. You felt that there was a bit of a disconnect for a little while there. He was never close to losing the locker room or anything like that, but something wasn't clicking, and it was just growing pains, whatever it may be. And then obviously once the All-Star break happened, there was something, whatever it was, whether it was all the different things that Cassidy is involved in, like little culture things. Hey, go pick out a hat after you get a hat trick. I thought that was kind of cool. Mark Stone really Yeah,
was
Mark
looking for one
Stone,
last
I
night.
got the whole video of it. He spent 45 seconds looking for the right one. And that's just a very small example of a big
Culture, right?
picture of the culture.
Yeah,
Very
very
small
good.
picture.
Yeah, for sure. Cassidy, the team was up 7-2 last night, and he just was going ballistic on them for some lapses that they had, late in the game. And it's just crazy, though. This has come full
We got some
circle.
things to work on in the offseason. We got some things to work on in the offseason. We gave up some late goals yesterday, guys.
South Beach Bruce, man, never quits. He never stops working, this guy. But again, full circle, because George McPhee fired him in Washington before the 2003-04 season. We can't forget about that. But again, all roads lead back to Bill Foley and what he has built here in Las Vegas. So I have to ask you this. Is this success sustainable? Oh man, I threw
Ooh, that's good, Tony.
McCrimmonism
That
at
was
you.
good. I like that, Tony. That was really good. I'm just sad we waited until the last 2 minutes of the episode there, but I think I started my answer before you asked the question. And when you look at the players that are under contracts, if they want, they don't need to make any wholesale changes to this roster. Robin Leonard might force something to happen if he is able to join this team at $5 million. That's obviously so many hurdles that need to be cleared if he's going to come back to this team. But if Robin Leonard doesn't come back, minimal changes are needed. They can field the same roster pretty much that they did last night's for the opening regular season game 1 of the 23-24 campaign.
Congratulations once again in order to the team, the organization, the players, most importantly, I believe the fans, and especially you and your son, and just the fact that it was really cool to see that you and your son were able to experience this. And I just watched that journey. It's really a cool thing.
There were some onions cutting
congrats.
when there was some onions cutting last night. I'm not gonna lie. Chris was looking at me. I'm like, shut up.
just be quiet. I'll go put you in the cup. No, his sellies were great too.
Oh my
We
God,
thank
so
everyone
awesome.
for tuning in. Coming up on Thursday, we should have a parade probably scheduled by then, let's hope, and a parade route. Of course, thanks for making us your first listen, especially the everydayers and all the fans in the VGK Nation.
Thank you.
For my man, Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Locked On Golden Knights.